Hello and welcome to a Geodict tutorial. My name is Janine Hilden. I'm an application engineer at Math4Market. In this video, I will show you how to get started with Geodict. What you directly see here is the user interface of Geodict. I will not explain every detail here. For this, I recommend to have a look in the user guide. You can access the user guide up here with the Help tab. So just click on the Help tab, and for example, to get the introduction chapter, just click on User Guide, GUI and Base Reference Handbook, and that one will be opened in your browser or download it directly. If you want to have more chapters, you can even download the complete user guide in a zip archive here. If you clicked on that, the recent version of the user guide would be downloaded to your computer. Now, the first thing we will do is set up the project folder in Geodict. The project folder in Geodict is filled with all the results from the current Geodict run. So all structures are saved in the project folder, all information about simulation runs, all simulation results, just everything is saved in there. To set up the project folder, click up here on File and choose Project Folder, select Project Folder. Or alternatively, you can also go here and use directly the icon for the project folder. Click on the icon and click Select Project Folder. Now, the default project folder is always Documents My First Geodict Project if you are under Windows. You can use this folder, but soon this folder will be very cluttered. And so therefore, I just recommend to set up a folder according to your current project. So I will just do that here, and I will set up a new folder on my desktop. I just go to my desktop and create a new folder. I just call it Getting Started with Geodict. Hit Enter, select the folder, and there we are ready to go. Up here in the project status, you can also see your current project folder. Just as selected, we have here the Getting Started with Geodict folder on my desktop. What I can also observe here, I have currently no structure loaded, as you can see, and well, I have no structures, so my structure does not contain any objects. But we want to have a structure, so let's just generate one. I will do that with FiberGeo. You will find all the Geo or generator modules up here under the Model tab. If you do not have FiberGeo, or if you simply want to use another generator module, simply use another one. For this introduction, every of those generator modules will work just fine. If you do not have explicitly licensed one of the Geo modules, you always have GutGeo, so you can also do a lot with that one. So I select FiberGeo. All Geodict modules are opened here in the Modules section in the bottom left of Geodict, right below the Project Status section. From the pull-down menu, different options from this module can be chosen. We just stay with the choice of Create. Also, we will not change any settings, so we do not need to click on the Edit button. All you have to do is simply click the Generate button. This is a thing that holds for every Geodict module, or at least every Geodict generator module. You always have useful startup settings, and you can simply click Generate, and you will get your first structure very fast, and this way you can directly see what the module does. If you want to know more about the module, you can also click here on the Help button, and then you will access the user guide chapter related to that module. So click Help, and in your browser directly the user guide is downloaded. For example, as you see here, the FiberGeo user guide is downloaded. We close it as we do not need it right now. As I explained, simply click Generate and something will happen, as you can see in the Generating Progress dialog. It is quite fast here, and then a window pops up. This is the result viewer. In Geodict, for everything you do, for every structure you generate or every simulation you run, you will obtain a result file. And this result file will be opened in the result viewer. I will not explain too much about the result viewer and result files right now, but shortly summarized, here all the results from the corresponding run are saved. For example, all the details about our fiber structure generation. Here in the table, we find some information about the objects that build our structure. We have two different object types, so two different fibers in this case. In total, we have 105 individual fibers in our structure. Related to your result file, there's always a result folder. A result file contains information about the generation of the simulation, and the result folder contains all the related files. To access the result folder, which has always the same name as the result file, you can just right-click up here on the name of the current result file. So just right-click on that, and then click on Open Result Folder. Then we see, well, here in my project folder, there's the FiberGeo folder, and that one contains, in this case here, the structure. Just close it, and let us also close the result viewer. And let's get back to Geodict. What we directly see here in the viewport is the 2D view of our structure. And the first thing we will do is zoom in and out. One way to do that is with the zoom buttons up here. So I will just zoom out a bit so that I see the whole structure. But additionally, you can zoom by pressing and holding the right mouse button and move it up to zoom out and down to zoom in. To slice through your structure, you can use the slice slider up here. Simply slide through there, or you can use the mouse wheel, just like scrolling to slice through your structure. To change the depth of your visualization, use the depth slider up here. Just move the slider here and you can see a bit deeper inside of your structure. If you want to change the direction from which you see your structure, just choose another direction. And now, for example, with choosing Z, I see my structure from above. Now, let us change to 3D view. For this, simply go up here on View and select 3D rendering. Or you could also select 2D cross view. Alternatively, there are also buttons for this in the toolbar up here. Here, this is the 3D button, and this is the 2D button. Click on 3D rendering, and now you get a 3D rendering of your structure in the viewport. By default, you always see the structure from the top. Rotate the structure by simply clicking and dragging with the left mouse button. Just rotate your structure and watch it from all sides. If you want to change the focus point, meaning the point about which your structure is rotated, simply double-click somewhere in your structure, and that feature you double-clicked on is now selected as your focus point. And all rotations are done about that point now. So now, if you just want to pan your structure, you can use the middle mouse button. Click on the middle mouse button and pan your structure around. If we want to zoom in and out, either use the right mouse button as we did in the 2D view, or just scroll the mouse wheel. As you can see here, the structure consists of voxels. This is because Geodict is a voxel-based program. So we want to change that visualization to see our structure with a smooth surface. Therefore, we can just change the renderer, which we can find here in the Structure tab. So click on Structure, and for renderer, select Smooth instead of Box. And now you see a nice, smooth visualization of our structure. For some more settings about visualization, we can go back here to the Camera tab. And for example, we can enable outlines. Then the features in our structure get outlines. Thus we can better distinguish them from the background. Also, you can click on Show Halo. And there will be a bit more contrast at such edges. And if you want to have a very nice visualization, let me zoom out a bit. You can switch on global lighting. And with global lighting, realistic shadows for your structure are computed. In general, I do not recommend to switch on global lighting all the time because it always takes some more time to compute, especially on large structures. But if you want to save nice images, use global lighting. For now, I will switch that one off again. The rest can stay switched on. Now, some rules about the colors in Geodict. As you can see, we have 3 different colors, or in fact, 4 different colors, where one is invisible. The invisible color is the air with ID 0. In Geodict, we have IDs for the different material phases in the structure. We call them material IDs. Here we have 4 material IDs, And in Geodict, up to 60 material IDs are possible. The different material IDs are then assigned to a material. Here, ID 0 is assigned to air, and the other 3 are assigned to glass. And then each of these material IDs have their own color. If you do not like the colors as they are right now, red, green, and yellow, you can simply change those colors as desired. Therefore, look at the sidebar on the right here. Simply click Color and Visibility to unfold the color and visibility settings. As with most settings, you also have an icon and toolbar for that. Up here, this is the Color and Visibility Settings icon. First, let's talk about visibility of the materials. For example, you see ID 0 is white, but currently set to invisible. We can change that by clicking here on the checkbox. And as you can see, now the ID 0 has its own color. But you cannot see the fibers anymore. So for that structure, it just makes sense to switch it back to invisible. Now we will change some colors here. Now let us assume that we just want to have some simple grayscale visualization. So we will change the colors for our fibers. So to choose a different color, just click on the color and select one of the default colors. Of course, you can also choose any color you want by clicking here on these 3 dots if you want to have a very special color. Now we close that again. We just choose a dark gray for the fibers for ID 1. And as you can see, it directly changes in a viewport. I choose another gray, a light gray for the ID 2, and I will choose black for ID 3. In this dialog, I will just explain a bit more, which is useful later in other Geodict settings. Now let's assume that you want to save your settings. You like your colors and you want to reload them at a later time. You can do that with the 5 icons down below here. These 5 icons can be found in every Geodict dialog, and they work everywhere the same. For example, you can save your settings of the dialog. Therefore, click on the first icon, save current settings to file. As you can see, the project folder just opened. Everything is saved in your project folder. Also, those settings files. I will call our settings file Grayscale Colors. Click on Save. Now with the second icon here, you can reload your color settings. It will not have any effect now, because the colors are already set that way. With the third icon, you always reload the built-in default settings. Just click on that, and as you can see, the colors switch back again to the red, green, and yellow. Now you can simply reload your settings if you want. Therefore, click now on the second icon and choose the file we just saved, the grayscale colors. Open that one, and as you see, our gray colors are reloaded. The fourth and the fifth icon are also quite relevant. With those, you can load and save your own startup settings. With the fifth icon, you can set your current settings as startup settings. And if you restart Geodict, those settings are loaded by default. And if you change something and you want to have your default settings back, you can simply load your startup settings. I will just keep this as it is and close the dialog. And the last thing we will do is saving and loading structures. That is also quite simple. You can just save your structure with File, Save Structure As. Or there, of course, is also an icon in the toolbar for that. Choose that one here, click on that, and you see your project folder is opened again. And then simply give it a name. I will call it Fibers. Here you can choose different file formats, but do not mind about that right now. In general, the default here, Geodict Structure Binary, GDT, is usually the best because all information about your structure is saved in that file. So just click on Save, and it is saved. Well, reloading the structure would be a bit meaningless right now because it is already loaded. I will just show you how to discard your structure. if you want to have an empty visualization area as it is when Geodict started. You can simply discard your structure by either File, Discard Structure and Fields, or you can also right-click here in the project status on your structure and choose Discard Structure and Fields. But before we do that, I will tell you some things about the project status here. You can get some information about your structure. With that arrow, you just can open it up and see, for example, the voxel number of your structure and the voxel length, and so on. But for now, we just want to discard it. So right-click on that, Discard Structure and Fields. Yes, I am sure. And now you see your empty Geodict. And what you also obtain now is down here you see your recent files and recent project folders. In the beginning, when we started, there was nothing down here. But now you can also see your structure file. So just click on it, and it's open in Geodict. If your structure is not in the recent files, you can also simply load it with the Open Structure button. So discard the structure again, and then you can move here to File Open Structure, or just use the corresponding icon here. We select the Fibers GDT, click Open, and there we are again. Now we see our saved structure again reloaded in Geodict. So this is the end of the video tutorial, and I hope you had fun generating your first Geodict structure and learning how to change colors, saving dialog settings and structure files. Please check out our Math the Market channel for more Geodict videos. Goodbye!